Alright, so this is something I really wanted to see in the Jurassic World Rebirth movie. The new T-Rex versus the D-Rex. That would have just been the highlight of the entire movie for me. But instead, it was the Titanosauruses. But that was still perfectly fine because that was amazing. So thankfully, Goji Center is going to do a battle analysis for them. And I am excited to see what the outcome will be. Because they are just going to... I just wish to have seen them in fight in the movie. But hopefully, if they make a sequel, it's going to happen. I hope so. But anyways, thank you, Goji Center, for making this. Make sure to watch the original. Leave a love. Give some love to them. And let's just get straight to it.
Distortus Rex, the abominable mutant whose origins and real purpose of creation is still shrouded in mystery.
Yeah.
The monster that terrorized the lesser beings of St. Hubert, and one who could have treated the Jurassic fanbase with one more showdown. What if the latest Jurassic saga followed suit with a tradition the third outing established and gave us a colossal clash of carnivores? Today on Goji Center, we consider the build, abilities, and X factors to determine which Rex...
What the heck? Whoa, 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 whoa.
Goji Center, we consider the build, abilities, and...
Damn, the size difference is crazy. Is this the new T-Rex from the show, maybe? Or they're taking Rexy? Maybe I wasn't listening, but... The size difference is crazy. Damn.
X factors to determine which Rex might have come out on top. Had Jurassic World Rebirth capped off in a different way.
I think the Tyrannosaurus Rex is going to have a stronger bite force.
Monster face-off, we'll discuss
but then the upper body strength and the
D-Rex and new
of the T-Rex is going to be insane. That one looks so much bigger than it did in that image there.
Here in the battle arena.
I feel like there's similar sizes.
As the cast drove off into the sunrise, leaving the nightmare of St. Hubert Island behind them, we were all thinking the same thing. Director Gareth Edwards and other filmmakers involved realized they had perhaps unwittingly broken tradition by not including a carnivore clash in the film's runtime. Some quilled faces getting murked by actual dragons standing. In hindsight, this change does have some precedent, as writer David Koepp was the author of the only 2 Jurassic films not to feature any such major rumbles. The crew did consider changing the ending to what Edwards and company jokingly called Deus Rex Machina by having the T-Rex come charging back in to fight the final boss of the adventure, the Distortus Rex. Ultimately, Edwards and the crew decided a calmer ending and breaking tradition was more fitting, and plenty can agree. D-Rex is still currently alive in this Jurassic timeline, but we still can't help but wonder. Against such a tower of terror, could even the new T-Rex, trumped up as possibly the most powerful yet in the franchise, have stood a chance?
That's like double the size of Rexy. It has to be.
Fight due to some unforeseen advantage, or might the sheer size and power of the Chopper Jumper reign supreme all the same? Before continuing this episode of Monster Face-Off, we will...
Okay, this size... The size difference just looks insane. I would have thought this guy would have been double this. Well, not double, 1.5 times. It would have been a slightly smaller. Not this much smaller. Damn. It's like a toy comparison.
Take into account all the stats provided by official sources and evidence seen in the films. We'll make evaluations based on those stats and try to figure out who should have won, regardless of what rumors have said about who would have won. So, with that said, let's have a look.
I have honestly no idea at this point.
Size. Right out the gate, however, these 2 combatants have a rather unique problem, namely how hard it is to tell how big they are actually supposed to be. The Jurassic franchise has never been the most consistent when it comes to the size of its dinosaurs, and Rebirth kept that tradition going stronger than ever. Both of the Rexes in the film, mutant or otherwise, were supposed to one-up what came before, and some individual shots in the movie
size
make
there, bro.
That's the same size. Gargantuan compared to the Rexes of yesteryear. The stats that are posted on the merchandise, however, those get a little bit confusing. Despite the stated
you see them at the bottom,
that
that's
the
sad.
Tyrant Lizard King featured in Rebirth would be bigger and beefier than Rexy. At 4.6 meters tall and 12.5 meters long, the Rex of Rebirth is indeed slightly longer and taller than most of the Tyrannosaurus in the first trilogy.
Slightly, that is so unfortunate.
Length and height-wise compared to Rexy at the end of her tenure in Dominion. With a weight measurement of about 8,400 kilograms, however, the 2 tyrant reptiles have about the same weight. Part of the confusion for its size, however, is because the CGI model morphs in size several times across its scene. At one point, this Tyrannosaurus looks like it has a skull roughly the same size as the raft that could fit multiple people. If that was true, and scaling up for size accordingly, this terrible tyrant would wind up closer to 20 or more meters long.
That is what I'm looking for.
This is absolutely not what was intended, and is probably just the result of dramatic effect kicking in for the shots.
Damn it.
The Distortus Rex, meanwhile, is not immune to this problem either. In
I'm a
several
riot.
shots during the confrontation at the docks, or when the horrific hybrid infamously downed a helicopter,
this guy with his Voldemort-ass face, yo.
Gareth
Being
Edwards,
30,000 meters tall, this guy.
Kaiju and giant Star Wars walkers look huge on camera, certainly did it plenty of favors in leaving an impact. Not
If you love Star Wars, subscribe. Got you, didn't I?
so much for keeping things consistent. Official stats for the D-Rex aren't the easiest to come by, or the easiest to understand. Some official merchandise giving it a height of about 8.1 meters and a length of 14.5 meters does make sense, and even lines up pretty closely
they even
to
called
what
the
we
D-Rex
predicted
Villain 1,
before
what
the
the
movie
heck?
came out. Weight, however, is where it gets
Poor boss didn't even get
confusing.
named.
The same information card for the height and weight gives a bafflingly big
8.1
range from
meters tall.
12.7 tons to upwards of nearly double that at 21.9 tons.
Bro, 8.1 meters. That's like... That's almost double normal. Almost is talking a bit much, but 4.6 and 8.1 in height is crazy. The difference is insane. Intelligence low. Look at this dome though. He's got a massive ass dome. There's no way the intelligence is low. He's got a big ass brain, but this is a tumor, so whatever. I'm just trying to make him look good, okay?
Actually does make a lot of sense.
Poor bastard's been experimented on since he was born. Let him be.
Cards very strangely imply the Spinosaurus in the film that are
Oh,
clearly
intelligence
smaller
eye,
than the
makes
Rebirth
sense.
Rex are almost the same weight. Additionally,
yeah, I mean,
sources from both the tie-in merch and
Spinos are very
Universal's
smart.
release documents typically give the Distortus an oddly light weight of 9 to 11 tons. This isn't just light, it also strangely contradicts numerous notes that this
It didn't seem to
distorted
act that
king is
stupid.
supposed to be at least twice the weight of a typical Tyrannosaurus. See what we
Damn,
mean when we
bro,
say
the
the
size
Jurassic
is just so
franchise's sizes
insane.
can be
The
confusing?
difference is
Mixing and
nuts.
matching how big these two look in different scenes could make the comparison either surprisingly close or very lopsided. So, for the sake of fairness, we're going to use the higher estimates for the T-Rex and a midpoint for the Distortus's weight. This gives us an
sake, man.
8.4-ton Tyrant Lizard King versus
The
a
height is,
17.3-ton
I mean, the length is so
Distorted
close.
King, which fittingly lines up pretty well
It's
with
more
the
than
often quoted
double
twice as big as T-Rex
the
remark.
weight.
With all of
Bro.
that factored, the winner in this
You can
category
just do a
is
front flip and
very
land on the
obvious.
T-Rex
The
and he's dead.
Tyrannosaurus finds itself in a rare situation for it, as the David in this David and Goliath battle against
That
the
is true. The
malicious,
T-Rex is usually the
malforming
bigger one.
Edge D-Rex. Section number 2, overall strength. A reason
T-Rex.
size
Shit's
does matter
sake.
in some contests is because having a massive amount of weight also means you're constantly moving a massive amount of weight.
It's gonna have to go to D-Rex because of the
Tyrannosaurus, both in
forearms.
real
It's
life
able to
and
like lift
fiction,
it up
have
or
shown
punch
off
it.
astounding strength. Rexy, despite being emaciated, out of shape, and never fighting another big carnivore in her life before, managed to shove around the Indominus and later held
That
her
is
own
true.
against a larger Giganotosaurus after getting her strength back.
Speaking about the Giganotosaurus, what the heck did they do that poor bastard? They didn't let him fight. They didn't let him survive. They didn't do shit. They just made him eat a dead bug and then they killed him off. Like, keep some respect. Come on.
Big Edie also went blow for blow with the gigantic Asset 87,
Damn.
despite a small size difference. The Rebirth T-Rex should be capable of similar performance.
It looks so much
when
bigger.
This lazy fella is motivated, of course. The Distortus Rex, however, is a bit of a unique case, as we have yet to see it battle anything outside of mobile game tie-ins and Evolution 2 mods. Shameless plug here, those D-Rex Jurassic World Evolution mod videos you see on YouTube.
Shameless plug.
Wanna take a wild guess who made that mod? Links down below.
Nice, good, you.
T-Rex did
We
manhandle
appreciate
things like
you.
the car Krebs tried to flee in, and downed the rescue helicopter with no issues. Granted, these two showings are against substantially lighter objects than itself. The rescue chopper
Yeah.
appears to be a model similar to a typical Eurocopter.
The T-Rex is substantially light. That's it's less than half its weight. Like what?
2.5 tons. The Distortus
It's like me
likely
fighting
grabbed
a
the chopper
baby.
From below and
I'm
twisted
kicking it like a
sideways
football. It's
based
gone.
on what we see the spotlight do in the film. The sudden jerk caused the rotors to fly off, given we don't hear the blades smack against it. This means with one arm,
What
it
the heck?
managed to overcome the lift force of the chopper and the chopper's own
That is
weight
so
before
broken.
biting
What
into
the
it.
heck?
And it is fair to assume that given the Distortus wasn't at all winded by this, lobbing a few tons worth of projectiles is not anywhere near its peak of strength. This is likely considering
so
how much
OP.
weight it is hauling around and having to balance with such a tall frame as well. With 2 gigantic arms capable of grappling like an ape, the Distortus likely could
it's able to just balance on one.
crush smaller dinosaurs.
So it can just give a devastating blow with one, just an uppercut or right hook or left hook.
Snickers Man. Could it lift up the T-Rex? Perhaps, but its tall stance and how much its foe could be thrashing about
it's gonna get itself some back damage, bro. It's gonna hurt its own back.
Though it is possible, such a feat might require both arms, and putting all that misbalanced weight on just its legs might be a bit too much.
It can lift it up and then fall forward on top of the T-Rex, breaking its
muscle to heft with,
its ribs. There we go. Although I want the T-Rex to win, but the T-Rex is just so sick as well. I like both.
Section 3.
That's not looking good for Rex. It's not looking good for the Rex right now.
Tyrannosaurus seen in Rebirth wasn't
Wait, what was
the maneuverability?
Oh, maneuverability. Okay, I think the T-Rex is gonna.
Rebirth wasn't breaking any land speed records when it went after the Delgado
We didn't really see it for long, and
lack
didn't
of success
do
might be
anything.
more down to lack of trying than actual lack of speed. Chances are, part of the reason it decided to go on the hunt was just as much out of boredom and instincts kicking up, seeing a loud, screaming object moving away from it, as it was any hunger. In all likelihood, this Rex is comfortably quick when it needs to be on land or in the water. If there is anything that did hinder the cruelly created colossus that was the Distortus, it was speed. We don't really see the D-Rex ever having a particular need to start booking it, but looking at its build doesn't really imply anything particularly swift.
I don't know if this guy can even like jog. Maybe a bit of a quick-paced walk
would make picking up speed awkward. Agility is another factor. Center of rotation is an aspect of movement that does exactly what it sounds like.
Probably gives it a bit of an advantage.
On the ground does make the D-Rex more stable than a biped of the same mass and height might be. It does mean its center of gravity would be located.
I was just about to say center of balance
and hind limbs touching the ground. Turning around means moving twice as many limbs with a much larger radius to rotate and change direction. If the fight ends up in the water, like at the end of the movie, it's also likely that the Distortus would struggle. Long and skinny limbs are some of the worst combinations for trying to swim with, and the Distortus would likely be restricted to just wading in the waters. This does still help it move around, but it also means it can't take advantage of diving under the surface to ambush. Even with the weight disadvantage, the Tyrannosaurus might be able to bowl over the larger Rex by charging into its legs to knock the foundation out from under it.
You could probably damage one of his legs pretty well by ramming force. Let's go! One for Rexy. Intelligence is definitely going to the Rex. I can tell you that for now.
Bite effectiveness.
Yeah, I want to say Rexy, but I think it's so much bigger. I don't know.
A very big impression when it, well,
not Rex. It's not Rexy. I don't know why I'm saying Rexy. The Rex.
Now, ignoring the fact it grew about 5 times its size for that shot, thanks Gareth, biting into a helicopter is still an impressive display of strength. The bite of 25 was mostly focused on the cockpit and aluminum body of the chopper. The D-Rex didn't completely crunch through any of the
aluminium, not aluminum, you nerd.
Punching its teeth through the aluminum and cockpit
freaking American terminology right here.
The D-Rex might have had other contributors in the mix affecting its jaws, but Tyrannosaurus does appear to be the lion's share of whatever we're seeing here. Compared to a normal Tyrannosaurus,
I believe I remember hearing that in one of Goji Center's videos. Having exposed teeth makes it more susceptible to like erosion or something, so it can become weaker and more fragile. I believe so. If I'm remembering correctly, and I'm wrong about this, let me know. But if I'm right, you know what to do.
Jaw, the distorted king, does appear to have some deformities resembling brachycephalic animals. This is where the facial bones aren't allowed to grow to the extent they were supposed to, and usually result in snub noses and bent jaws. Pugs and the fellow hybrid, the Scorpius Rex, have so many issues. This doesn't necessarily mean the jaws are weak, just that they might not be working as optimally as a Tyrannosaurus of equal size would. Applying information from real-life studies about theropod jaws, such as Dr. Manabu Sakamoto's 2022 study on theropod bite mechanics, we can make an estimate on what kind of chomp we're looking at here using our model. Scaling up from other known tyrannosaurs with the formulas provided, we get a potential chomping force between about 72,000 to 92,000 newtons. Admittedly, this is not an exact...
Hold on. I just wanted to check for comparison. So humans is 700 to 500 newtons bite force. That is a high amount. Damn.
Exact size scaling aside, the actual force could wind up being much lower than this because of the deformities in the jaw. Ignoring how the D-Rex suddenly grew into a kaiju to fit the helicopter into its mouth,
that is
even
true.
just a portion of this force would be more than enough to punch through the aluminum and glass,
without
like severely damaging the sturdier parts of the chopper.
Now it's making me hungry for chicken.
The Tyrannosaurs
what the
in
heck?
the Jurassic franchise may not always have quite as crushing of a bite as they should, but they are still quite powerful all the same, and usually are given a ballpark range across various statements matching up to the real thing. So, a real-life T-Rex with all of the bells and whistles should be biting more effectively. But the movie versions aren't necessarily a slouch, and the Rebirth Tyrannosaurus does have a head and teeth more in line with the real thing than prior movie versions. Scaled to the stated metrics, it has a head smaller in size.
What are these teeth called, the biggest? Because I know like usually canines, but what are they called on the T-Rex? What is that the biggest one called?
Some studied specimens.
The articular puncture point.
Force somewhere in the
That's what you call it.
40,000 to 55,000 Newton range, accounting for some differences in jaw structure and playing it safe. Could be higher if we assume similar mechanical advantages. So, the Distorted King likely has
this one on the low end is 7,200, the other one's 5,500. What the heck?
The Tyrant King is not far behind, and would be more easily able to land multiple bites thanks to its frame. In the biting department, one can probably crunch harder, but the other can chomp down more easily and quickly. That means equal damage. For this category, we'll leave it as a draw for both combatants.
We'll take it.
Section number 5, Auxiliary Weapons. While the Rebirth Tyrannosaurus never showed any particular need to move quickly outside of an accidental disappearing act, there's little reason
He's a magician. It's got some magic. It's Doctor Strange in disguise. It has to be.
Compared to someone like Rexy back in 1993, but even moving at a slower pace, it still has a very robust head that would be perfect for bludgeoning and crushing. The Buck, Bull, and Big
just get a bat and just start smacking him in the back of it.
In this franchise are not adverse to using their heads as battering rams or bludgeons. A full body charge with enough speed behind it focused on that big brow at the top of its head could easily produce kinetic energy exceeding 300 to 400 kilojoules. How much impact force is behind that would depend on a lot of factors, but those are similar numbers to a 35-mile-per-hour pickup truck crash when not accounting for the crumple zones. The Distortus, meanwhile, doesn't really have the speed or the striking capability to use its head like that. It might not even want to, given how soft the top of its skull seems to be. Instead, its best asset in the fight, probably even more so than its head, would be its arms. Whatever is in the mix with this horrendous hybrid mutant gives it plenty of dexterity. In the fight, the Distorted King would swat, smack, and crush with potentially disastrous amounts of force. If the Tyrannosaurus got pinned to the ground and smashed from above, so all that force is pressed against the hard ground, that might be curtains for the Tyrant Lizard King. These same arms did also casually throw a roughly 2-ton helicopter after all. Whether they could actually pick up the Tyrannosaurus remains to be seen. In this specific fight, it might not even have to. Given how tall the Distortus is and how it seems to need to move carefully to avoid toppling, something supported by the universal documents, lifting about half its own body weight with just one arm might not be feasible. Using both arms might get the job done, but that would leave it with a substantially less stable stance. This doesn't appear to be something that would be throwing itself around and swinging about like Tarzan. Grappling could be done to try and seize hold of the Tyrannosaurus, but swinging or hefting its opponents might be outside the wheelhouse and not used in favor of pummeling and smashing. The Tyrannosaurus's charge does give it a potentially critical opening attack to knock the Distortus off balance. However, it would need space and an opening to wind up for the best effect.
It has to also have to be sneaky, because we're able to pull that off without it noticing. Otherwise, it's just going to face the Rex the entire time, I'd assume. So it has to have some sort of style.
Thanks to its great reach and potential to follow up, the deformed king takes this
Surely
advantage.
the Rex has better senses, right?
Section 6.
X-Factor.
X-Factors. The senses
it's
of
not looking good for the Rex, not at all.
In real life and in the franchise have already been covered extensively before. The Lost World established the replicated tyrants still have their superb sense of smell. Other outings in the franchise can vouch for a good sense of hearing and night vision. What's going on with the motion-based vision is a matter of debate, but most of the films seem to indicate
like
at
that
the very least the replicated Tyrannosaurus from the original 90s batch more easily tracked moving objects than stationary ones. It remains to be seen or confirmed if this newer model suffered the same issues or not, but it likely has decent enough vision all the same. It's also noteworthy that this T-Rex is extremely stealthy when it wants to be, being quieter in movement and vocalizing than prior Tyrannosaurus. The Distortus Rex, however, is quite mysterious on what's going on under the hood. For example, that noticeably bulbous forehead.
No, I don't want to see what's under the hood.
Having a species like a beluga added into the mixture. These and other dolphins actually have fairly gnarly-looking skulls that bear more than a passing resemblance to crocodiles when you look at just the bones.
That is true.
The round protrusion that smooths out the head is largely made up by an organ called a melon. Made of specialized fats and wax, this organ helps to focus echolocation into specific directions.
Oh, that's sick, actually. That's a nice ability to have.
This, and it has another
doesn't echolocation like kind of map out your surroundings?
Impossible to tell,
I don't know.
Really. This exact same shape could also be due to errors in embryonic development. Hydrocephaly is a condition where
it was experimented on and made together with a bunch of different
this can
DNA.
Put pressure
so
on the brain, damaging parts and causing the head to abnormally swell, expanding the skull or leaving soft, squishy lobes outside of the skull.
I wonder if it's painful.
So we're left with a bit of a question. Either the D-Rex looks this way because it is a hybrid and might have some special abilities, or it looks the way it does because it's deformed. We stress that there really is no concrete answer
it's very
on
possible
this
that it's deformed. It's got 4 arms.
To give our best guess, we can look at the traits involved as well as what the creature does in the movie. If the Distortus
got a bit of scoliosis going on. What the heck?
It doesn't really seem to be showing it, given how easily it lost track of Duncan when he was right in front of it at the end of the movie. Known symptoms for hydrocephalic individuals, meanwhile, include distorted voices, changes in reasoning, irritability, poor temper control, slowed movement, and decreased coordination.
Those all
don't sound a lot like what we see more than any whale-based superpower. Universal easily could change this with more information, but for now, the D-Rex's distinctive look seems to be
any of
more
its
a
feet.
factor of distortion
Just walking
than
there,
any
it's so not deep for it.
design.
It's crazy.
This X Factor did discuss a lot of what we would cover in the senses category, so for this
Let's go.
potentially
I knew
critical
it.
edge
Rex
in
had better senses.
ambushing at night, the Tyrannosaurus
I'm a
takes
genius.
another point. With all our stats in play,
Damn.
let's take a quick look at how this fight could go.
Size and bite strength is crazy. Okay. What we've been waiting for. Okay, the little battle between the T-Rex and the Distortus Rex. The end result of the matchup will be heavily determined by the previously discussed stats, not by any rumored outcomes. That's a solid roar. Nice and bassy. Hey, look at his eyes. It's the Sith Lord. I must say that the Rex roar is one of my favorite sounds. It's so cool. It's good. Ah! Ow! Ow! Let go of my fingers. Ouch! That hurt like a bitch. Oh, concussion. That was quick. That was very quick. Yeah, that boss just got insta-killed. That's crazy. I would have thought they'd give it a bit of a longer battle. Oh, it's not dead yet. Got a big hole in his neck, so how are you still alive?
This fight is actually very situational. In an upfront brawl where both of them can see
the Rex
each
got
other
shit
and
on
there
instantly.
are no obstacles, the Distortus would probably come out on top, thanks to leveraging its greater weight and strength, having little trouble grabbing onto the Tyrannosaurus and slamming it to the ground repeatedly
I didn't think it would end that
with
quickly.
one arm whilst wailing on
sick,
it
though.
with the other. It could soften up
Oh,
and
that would be
badly
so
wound
painful.
the T-Rex
You just know it.
before finishing it off with a bite to the throat or trampling it. However, the circumstances of the fight in the movie might tilt the odds. Given this T-Rex seems to be very adept in the water and likes to hang around rivers, it is likely the fight would involve the T-Rex ambushing the D-Rex
Underwater,
in the
yeah.
water
Maybe
and
biting its tail and
by
yoinking it down
surprise.
underwater.
Since the
That'd be
D-Rex would
crazy.
be wading into the river, that means the T-Rex would likely go for the legs and get the first strike.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
might
I was
not
saying
be
tail,
enough
but
to
legs
drop
make
the
sense
D-Rex,
too.
but it could cut into the foundations and slow the already less nimble behemoth down. From there, if the D-Rex could grab a hold of the T-Rex and fight back, it might get some momentum. But fighting at night and in all that water and
having
darkness
those arms is such an advantage.
pummeling the T-Rex difficult. A direct bite would be devastating, but getting close might also put the D-Rex at risk of a crunch to its own face and rupturing the soft dome of its noggin. This is where
we don't know if that dome leads to its brain or not.
If
it's like
well-executed flares might distract the T-Rex momentarily and give the T-Rex another opening. Alternatively, if the T-Rex got back in the water, it might be able to escape notice and come
gonna
back
get tired
for
and
another
sink.
surprise attack aimed at a more critical spot like the face or neck. Now, it was rumored that the T-Rex was actually supposed to win this fight. Quite frankly, we think that this happening, that being T-Rex pulling off this win, would be quite difficult in a fair and square fight in neutral terrain. If the T-Rex does manage to win, it would have been depending on outside factors such as leveraging terrain, humans playing a major role in distracting the T-Rex,
being in the water, not having
this distraction to then kill the distractus Rex. And where did we see this happen before? Thankfully, D-Rex is still wandering about the cursed jungles of St. Hubert.
Yeah, it's in the next film for sure. We're gonna have to see it in the next film.
Against an equal challenger.
Man, I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. I love Jurassic so much.
Throw down against an
Just this guy.
Challenger.
This guy. I need to see it in a battle. We didn't even see it fight any other... Oh, did we? I don't remember. I don't think so. I don't really think it fought anything else. But I know it has potential. I know they have so much potential with these new mutants. The Mutodon I would like to see expanded on. The D-Rex, obviously. This fight between the D-Rex and the Rex, which I hope is a bit bigger than what it is now. At least 6 meters or more. Like, come on. It can't be that tiny. But I love it. It's just so cool. I love dinosaurs and I love the kaiju. It's just the best. It's so much... It's just such a spectacle to watch. It's just like, I don't want to be situated in the real world when I'm watching something. I want to be in awe. I want to have my brain exploderated, you know? I just want to have a good time. But this was sick. I do think with everything explained, I do understand how the T-Rex has a much bigger advantage. But I would like to see a fight that lasts a bit longer, you know? Not just a one-tap kill kind of thing. But anyways, make sure to let me know down in the comments, who do you guys think would win? Would you guys go with the D-Rex or the T-Rex? Because I honestly, either way, I'd be happy. So yeah, just let me know down in the comments. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll check you guys in the next one. Peace.